Oh my. Um, can you hear me? Good morning. I almost missed my cue. I was over, playing around with something else. Um, Hi, my name is Ramona McKee. I am with yeah, I'm with Quick to Stitch. Um, and today is our very first episode of Coffee and Conversation. Look, I have my coffee. I'm hoping that when you join me, you'll have a cup with me. Um, I want to take a moment to tell you what prompted coffee and conversation. Back years ago, when I was just a mere child, just yay tall, I remember I remember my mother and Mrs. Marshall, always Mrs. Marshall. Husband's name was George, that was okay, but that was always Mrs. Marshall and my mother sitting at the dining room table, sharing a cup of coffee and conversation about what was going on in the neighborhood. Um, that was back in the day when, moms were pretty much stay at home and kids went off to school and we were outside until after dark and riding our bikes all over the place. But that's what where the name came from, coffee and conversation, and the atmosphere. I want this to be a very casual, interactive atmosphere, and I'm hoping, like I said, that you will join me. Today's topic is bobbins. Bobbins, lots and lots of bobbins. Um, I've got a few things I want to talk to you about. Um, and oh, where's my list? I am going to pop up here. I am going to pop up here my links list. It should also be in the comments. And it's got a list of just a couple of things. It's got a list that includes how you can reach me, my email address, my Facebook group, my website. Um, it's got a couple of links for some bobbin cases that we'll talk about later, and a promotion for my coffee mug. Yeah, if you want one, no pressure. Um, okay, so let's talk about. Oh, good morning, Barb. Welcome. Let's talk about bobbins. I have my notes, so I might look down for a moment. Um, Let me take this banner off. I'm hoping you guys can see this. The first thing I want to talk to you about are bobbin sizes. There are three primary bobbin sizes. Now, this top one is actually a quarter, I know, but it represents a size M bobbin. The size M bobbins were much larger and they were primarily used by the old brother commercial embroidery machines. They are still used with some of the quilting machines. But in our industry, in our embroidery industry, we will rarely see a size M bobbin anymore. The next size is a size A bobbin. If you look at it compared to the size L bobbin, the A bobbin is a little bit fatter. It's taller. And that's to fit in the home flatbed embroidery machines. That's where they are primarily used. I don't think I've ever come across a commercial machine or even a home commercial machine that uses a size A bobbin. They will be using the size L bobbin. That's the bobbin that um, we are most familiar with in the embroidery industry, the size L bobbin. Remember that when you go to buy your bobbins, even the brother and baby lock, use the size L bobbins. So those are our sizes. Good morning, Priscilla. And we have a Facebook user. Hello, Facebook user. Um, and I want to, before I move on, I want to just say a very special thank you to my friend Jeff Fuller, who is in the background and helping me with my comments and my my clicking here, because I'm kind of nervous, and I'm really new to this. The next thing I want to talk to you about are the different types of bobbins. Again, I made you a little card. Yeah. Up here we have plastic sided bobbins. This is actually an empty bobbin. Well, it's not empty right now, but this is an empty bobbin that you would self wind. And this is a plastic sided pre wound bobbin. We have some paper sided bobbins. Then we have no sided bobbins and magnetic bobbins. Let's go back up here to the self wound plastic bobbin. Most of the time they come, when you purchase them, they are metal versus plastic, but that's okay. The one cautionary tale I want to share with you regarding metal bobbins: you can use a metal bobbin in a metal bobbin race, but not in a plastic bobbin race. The metal will actually scar a plastic bobbin race found in the machine. And regarding these pre-wound bobbins, lots of people try to refill these, and it might work one or two times, but the plastic is actually very weak, and sometime in using them, they will pop, and then it will spring open, and you'll lose all that thread. Paper-sided bobbins are good. They make it real easy. You just throw them away. Magnetic sided bobbins have become very popular. This is a magnetic sided bobbin that uses a magnet in the core. This is a magnetic sided bobbin that uses a thin layer of magnet on one side of the paper. The nice thing about these two magnets is they will dictate how it gets placed into the bobbin case. The magnet goes to the metal side of the bobbin case. Now, Ganold also has a magnetic paper-sided bobbin, but it uses a magnetic on both sides. I'm sure that's a production thing. I'm sure it's easier to put the same paper on both sides. A little bit later, in just a few minutes, we will talk about how to load a bobbin case to make sure that it's always right. So that's types of bobbins. Now let's go talk about the bobbin cases. The first thing I want to talk to you about with regard to bobbin cases is a damaged bobbin case versus a good bobbin case. The thing you need to remember is a damaged bobbin case is not going to function correctly. In this case, the bobbin is damaged to the point where you can't even pull the bobbin thread through it. You can see, if I get real close here, you can see where this case is out of round. Where this one, which is a good bobbin case, let me just get allows me to turn to pull the thread. Did you also notice, and we'll go over this again later, but I want you to watch the direction that bobbin is turning. That will become very important. All righty. And I know I should stop and pause and ask in between each sections. Please, if you have any questions, pop them up and we'll get to them. I will answer the questions as we go. At the end of this presentation, I'm hoping that we will have a conversation about bobbins where you'll have more questions and we will go over more things. We've only got a few more things and then we can go and talk about bobbins. Okay, so we're still talking about cases. I want to show you This is just your standard bobbin case. It's a commercial bobbin case. It includes a pigtail. It includes the spring on the inside. Has a tension spring. Yeah, I can't really show you that, can I? It goes like so. What else do we have? Oh, the handle that is not a handle. This is not a handle. Yes, you use it to pull the bobbin out of the machine, but do not use it to put the bobbin back into the machine. And the reason that is, when next time you pull your bobbin case out, I want you to really look at it. I want you to flip that handle. Can you see this? I want you to watch this part right here. All right. I'm going to pull that handle. Can you see? Did you see how that moved? Yeah. See how that moved? The handle is actually a release mechanism. It pulls that bit down so that it releases from the bobbin race and will allow you to pull it out of the machine. When you put it in the machine and you hear that click, that solid click, that is this catching, seating the bobbin case into the race. So remember, if you don't hear the click, your bobbin is not in the machine correctly. Do not use the pull tab as a handle. Any questions on this bobbin case? What else have we got? Oh, shall we talk about how to load a bobbin? Okay. No, actually, I want to go back a moment. Why do you have a pigtail on your bobbin case? What is the purpose of that? There are bobbin cases out there that don't have pigtails, but for commercial embroidery, for commercial machines, you're going to have the pigtail. And the reason being, let's see if I can get this up off the board. Hot glue. Love the hot glue. The reason you have a pigtail is so the bobbin thread stands up tall in the machine. When the machine makes a knot at the beginning or the end, when the machine makes a knot, the pigtail actually holds it upright so that the picker, that's that little hook thing at the front, will pull it tight. Just like tying your shoes. When you tie the laces on your shoes, you tie them and then you pull them tight. The bobbin, the pigtail and the picker and the needle work together to pull them tight. Okay, that's what I wanted to say about pigtails. Pigtails are very important on your bobbin case. Okay, so how do you load a bobbin? Do I have a bobbin? I do. I know I do. I just showed you a dozen of them. When you load a bobbin, and I'm going to use this bobbin case, this bobbin here. I don't know if you can see it, but I put a black dot on it here. Yeah. I did that for a reason, because when we pull it, I want you to see the direction it goes. When you put a bobbin in the case, I want you to hold the bobbin up and pull the bobbin thread down. Now I'm going to turn this around because it's backwards on my monitor here. Actually, I think you can tell. Can you tell? Does this look like a letter Q on your side? Lowercase q is the circle that has a drop down. That's what you want this to look like. You want it to look like a lowercase q. You take your lowercase q and you place it inside the bobbin, like so. So again, you're looking at it and it's a lowercase q. And then you can draw the bobbin thread up through the slice, up under the spring tab, around the pigtail, and then you can pull out. Now I'm going to turn this around so you can see it. I want you to see the direction that that bobbin is turning. All right. If your bobbin, when you pull the bobbin thread, is not turning in this direction, it is in the case backwards and will cause all kinds of issues with your machine. Your machine will not stitch properly. You'll have all kinds of bird's nests. You'll have, oh, excuse me, you'll have to cut the thread out of place. Any questions on that? Loading a bobbin can be very tricky when you're first starting out because you don't know, especially if you're working with a paper bobbin or a plastic pre-wound bobbin or a bobbin that has no markings or no indication as to which side is up. So remember, make the cue, put it in, and pull it and have it turn counterclockwise. Okay. Let's see. One last thing, and then we open this up for discussion. And I'm hoping, okay, there are some new bobbin cases out there, new styles, those that don't have a pigtail, but they do have a path that holds your bobbin thread in the same position as the pigtail. This was done because occasionally, well, more times than we like to count, your pigtail will break off. And then what do? You've got an $8, $10, $12 bobbin case you can't use because it has no pigtail. Okay, so there are a couple of new ones out there. In the links list is a link to both of them that I'm aware of. If there are others, I'm sure there are. May come across those at some point. This is the one that I have purchased, and I like it because again, it's not going to break off. Can you see how solid that is? Yeah, the thread just threads right in there. There's a split. I don't think you can see it. There's a split at the top. The thread goes right in and stays in position. Otherwise, it's exactly the same as the others. How many bobbin cases should we have? I think, thank you, Jeff. Then thank you, Jeff. In my opinion, you should always have an extra bobbin case because you never know when you drop it or it goes out of round or again, you lose your pigtail. I personally have 2 extra bobbin cases for each of my machines because sometimes a bobbin case will lose its spring. You know, it doesn't hold its tension anymore. Or again, you'll lose the pigtail. For some reason, that bobbin case is no longer working properly. So you have a spare. And I like redundancies, so I have a spare to my spare. Okay, so do we have any other questions? And I know I keep fussing with my hair because you know I can see it. And I can see it. Oh my goodness. I am so sorry. And it's terrible. Let's see. Facebook user, we typically have 3 per head, 1 in use, 2 more loaded and ready to go. Oh, what an awesome idea. So what you're doing is you have, oh, that reminds me. Don't let me forget to talk to you about tensioning. So what you're saying is that in the machine, you're running a bobbin and it runs out. So instead of pulling that case and loading that bobbin and putting that same case back in the machine, you're saying that you have another one that's already loaded and ready to go. So now it's ready to go. So you can load this one and put it on deck. That is an awesome idea. That is, I'm sure, a time saver in your production. Very good. Thank you. Um, no, where was I going? Oh, yes, bobbin tension. There are many people that will self wind their bobbins with 40 weight thread, and they do this to color match the upper thread that they're using. This is typically used a lot with freestanding lace. But 40 weight thread runs differently in your bobbin than the 60 weight thread that we generally use. So what we do is we take one bobbin case and we tension it for the 40 weight thread. In fact, this particular case, and I mark it so that I know which one it is. This particular case is my 40 weight case. If I'm going to run self-wound bobbins using 40 weight thread, this is the case I use in my machine. What do we got here? Barb has a comment. I have a couple of spare bobbin cases for each multi-needle, plus bobbin cases with different tensions, one for 60 and one for 40. Exactly, Barb. That's exactly what I was talking about. Anytime that you're going to use a different weight thread in your bobbin case, you should have a bobbin case that's tensioned for that thread weight. I had another thought and I lost it. It'll come back. Let's see. Anybody else? Anybody have any other questions? Any other comments? Again, this is where the discussion comes into play, the conversation. Let's have a conversation about bobbin cases and about bobbins. Does anybody have a favorite bobbin brand that they use? I know Filtech is quite popular with the magnetic bobbins. I've recently transitioned over to Madeira magnetic sided bobbins. I have to admit, I like the ability to just throw away the paper sides when I'm done. The Filtex, and I swear, I do save those little green cores and I put them back in a box. And when that box is full, I will mail it back to Filtech because, you know, they recycle those cores, they rewind them. Um, let's see, paper cases are great. Facebook, Mike, is that you? Mike, I should put it, Mike Moldoni. Um, he always comes in as Facebook user, at least from what I've seen. He comes in as Facebook user. Oh, maybe not always. Okay, but thank you, Mike. Thank you for joining us today. Um, do you have any thoughts on your bobbins, on your bobbin cases? I like saying the word bobbin. Say bobbins, bobbins. Kind of a sing-songy word, isn't it? What else have we got? Mike says, where is it? Mike says, that's weird. I'm assuming he's talking about the fact that his name didn't pop up, that he was a Facebook user. But, you know, I've seen some of Mike's conversations. Mike can be a little weird himself. Where is it? Barb uses Filtech magnetics, and she has the paper-sided bobbins from Coldesi. Are you having any problems with your Filtex? I've heard conversation that Filtex have been a bit of an issue lately. And your do you like the Coldesis? Do they run well in your machine? Do they trim well? Let's see, where are we going here? I know. I should leave the button clicking to Jeff. He's so good at it. And I want to again thank Jeff for all of his support. He's the one that put me on this path. I'm really nervous. I don't know if you can tell. Really unsure about which step I should take next. But I do want to say thank you all for being here. Um, let's see. Jeff says he's hiding in the background like a ninja. Yeah. Oh, what does Mike have to say? Mike, I have lots of thoughts on bobbin cases. Have it on good authority. There are some new self-winding bobbins. Can't say much yet. Mike, is this that project you've been working on where you can load empty bobbins into like a hopper and it will wind all the bobbins for you? Please say yes. Please say yes. Mike's kind of inventive that way. I'm looking forward to seeing how that project comes out. Oh, this is Tori. We have, like I said, it's a casual atmosphere. They're allowed to come in and say hello. I think Carly might be heading this way. Okay. So if there are no other questions or thoughts about bobbins, I do have one question for all of you. I'm coming back next week, and I do have a whole list of topics and subjects to go over, but I want this to be an interactive thing. I want your input. Is there something specific that you want to talk about next week? Um, through the week, whatever the topic is, through the week, I will put together. What is this, Mike? Oh, close, but that's part of it. We've got something that nobody's seen before. Oh, Mike, that's intriguing. That's going to be exciting. Okay, so back to next week's topic. I would love it if you could, again, tell me, is there something that you want to go over specifically? I'll do the research. I'll come up with a presentation. We can talk about it. But if you don't have that subject in mind right now at this very moment, that's okay. Just send me a message. You can reach me on Facebook. Let me go find my list here. You can reach me on Facebook. It's not listed there. I'm terrible. You can reach me at my email address, quick2stitch@gmail.com. And you can also use the contact link within my website. Again, quick2stitch.com. Barb, what do we got here? Oh, Barb says there's no issues with the fill text so far. The paper sides are no issues. Oh, and you use a tension gauge on the bobbin cases. Are you using that new digital tension gauge, or are you using the old analog tension gauge? I have both. I have to admit, Letty, hi. I have to admit I do like the digital tension gauge, tension gauge, because I find it easier to check my upper tension, my top tension. But that thing sure was pricey. And you have to buy only the analog. Um, you have to buy a separate insert for the digital one for the bobbin size that you're working with. I like the analog too. Jeff, thank you. I like the analog bobbin gauge also, because I feel like I'm getting a better pull on it. Letty has something for us. I'm looking at the comments here. I do find at times the paper-sided bobbins run into an issue as they get close to empty. Really, do you think it's something in the tension of the wind of the bobbin, or do you think that it is something to do with the case itself? Do you know that you can buy bobbin cases without this blue spring? The blue spring acts like a push on the bobbin so that when the machine stops stitching, the bobbin doesn't continue to spin. That spring stops it. Now, you don't need this with the sideless bobbins because the sideless bobbins have enough friction to stop on their own. Um, the same happens with the magnetic bobbins because it's magnetic, it has a tendency to stop. Um, what else was I going to say? But with anything that's got a smooth side on the bobbin, you might want to consider keeping the spring inside your case. Otherwise, it's just real easy to pop out. You just, take a pair of tweezers and pop it right out. But you can set it aside and then put it back in when you need it. Let's see. Oops. Barb says that she uses the Tajima embroidery thread tension gauge for the top gauge. Is that the one that looks like a tube with a hook on the end of it? It's like a white tube and it has a spring and a little hook on the end, and you wrap the thread around the hook and then you pull. I've tried that one. I guess I'm just a terrible puller. Yes. Barb says, yes, that's the correct one. I'm a terrible puller because I can never get the consistency of the pull. Now, maybe you can help me with this, Barb. Do you, um, is your, is your upper thread when you do this pull, when you do this tension check, is it in the needle? Is it through the eye of the needle and then down through the presser foot? Or are you pulling from the thread guide above the needle? Maybe I'm just using it wrong. I still have it. I'm still willing to try it. Um, anybody else has anybody else used that tension gauge? Can anybody else give us an idea on the proper usage of it? And I know that there's a slight delay in from the time I ask the question to the time that you guys get it. So I'm going to ramble here for just a moment, see if anything comes up. And what else have we got? Let's see. Did you like my little card presentations? Did you find that helpful? Um, oh, we might hear some cat conversation here in a bit. She can't get out of the room. Don't forget to enjoy your coffee. That's what we're here for. Coffee and conversation. Oh, and I think you're right. Sorry, I just had a message from my ninja, my behind the scenes ninja. I think at this point we're going to go ahead and close things out. If you have a suggestion for next week's topic, don't hesitate to send me a message. Be happy to um, do the research on that. But next week, if nothing else comes up, why don't we talk about needles? Let's see. Let's go back to Barb. She sent us a message regarding the um, the tensioner pulls approximately 6 inches of thread through the needle and the presser foot. I'll give that a try, Barb. Thanks. And Mike, I haven't used the top tension gauge in years. We use the bobbin gauges for consistency across our multi-heads, but the top tension gauge just collects dust. Better results to go by feel. I still feel I'm too new at this industry to know if the pull on my upper thread is right or not. I think I'm getting better at that. I haven't had any issues with top tension for a while. So I'm feeling good about that. Um, but you're right. With experience, you get to understand how the thread pulls and how it feels. Okay, so again, gonna say goodbye. We're just 36 minutes in. Don't want this to be an all-day thing. I don't want you to lose your Saturdays. So next week, unless somebody comes up with something else, let's talk about needles, sharp needles, ballpoint needles, universal needles, embroidery needles, sewing needles, top stitch needles. We'll talk about needles. Thanks again for being here. I really appreciate it. I'm going to end the broadcast now. Let me take care of that with this. Bye now.
Wasn't that fun? Do you have more questions? Do you want to learn something new? Join me at quicktostitch.com for coffee and conversation, and we'll talk about it. Embroidery machines, designs, and business. Hope to see you soon. Bye now.